Hi guys, so today I'll be going over another example of how to do a trig substitution with value associated with Asinฑ theta. So the question is asking us, what is 1 divided by x squared times the square root of 4 minus x squared dx? So what do we do? When you're given a problem like this, you have to know which one of these formulas you're going to be using. If, uh, if you have a negative x squared, it's always going to be Asinฑ theta. And in our case, we have a negative x squared. So we're going to use Asinฑ theta. So this is basically saying that everywhere we see an x, it will be Asinฑ theta. So what's the next step? Let's put our values in for Asinฑ theta. So x is equal to Asinฑ theta. That means that a squared is equal to 4, and if we take the square root on both sides, that a is equal to 2, right? So now we input 2 for our Asinฑ theta. So we're now at x squared is equal to 2 sine theta. So what we want to do now is plug in our values. So like we want to plug in whatever value we get for x squared, and we want to plug in our value for dx. So x squared is basically you squared both sides. We're at 4 sine squared theta, and dx, which is derivative of x, is going to be 2 cosine theta. Now we have this information. Let's plug it into our problem. So we plugged in x squared over here and here, and we plugged in dx. Now what we're going to do, what I'm going to do now is simplify it. So I have a 2 over here, I have a 4 over here. They can cancel out and give me 1/2. So they'll give me 1/2 over here. And I have a 4 over here and a 4 over here. So I can pull the 4 out and get 1 minus sine squared theta. And here we go. I canceled the 2 and 4 out. I pulled the 4 out, and now I'm left with 1 minus sine squared theta. Is there anything else I can do to make this more simpler for me to work with? Yes, I can. So if you remember from pre-calculus, cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta is equal to 1. If we arrange the problem and make 1 minus sine squared theta, that would make 1 minus sine squared theta equal to cosine squared theta. So I can replace this with cosine squared theta to make it a little bit more simpler for me. All right, there you go. So what else can I do to make it more simpler? I can just square root everything that's under the square root. Now I've square rooted everything under the square root. What else can I do to make it more simpler? So there's 2 on both sides and they're multiplying, so I can pull them in the front of the integration sign. And if I pull 1/2 out and I pull 1/2 out, I'll make 1/4 over here. And if I pull these 2 out, I'll be left with cosine on the bottom and cosine on the top, and they can cancel each other out. So now I'm going to be left with 1/4 integrate 1 over sine squared theta. I can also further simplify this again into cosecant squared theta, because that's an identity that we learned in pre-calculus. And then if I take the integration of cosine squared theta, I am going to be left with negative. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, so if I skipped a slide. I'm sorry. So I have cosine squared theta, and if I integrate that, I'm going to be left with negative cotangent theta over 4 plus c. And I know I went a little bit fast, but okay, the stuff that I went over fast is stuff that you should know from calculus 1 and pre-calculus. Like, you should know that 1 over sine squared should be cosecant squared theta. You should know that. And then you should know that if you integrate cosecant squared theta, it's going to be negative cotangent. That stuff, you should know this already. So I went back a little fast. If you don't understand it, I think I'm going too fast. Just review the basics from calculus 1 and pre-calculus, and then continue on with the video. All right. So now I'm at negative cotangent theta divided by 4 plus c. But this will not be the answer, because if we start off with x's, we have to end with x's. So we have to change theta to x. How are we going to do that? This way. So in the beginning, we said that x is equal to 2 sine theta. We can rearrange sine theta and say sine theta is equal to x over 2. So that means, according to a right triangle, the opposite side would be x and the hypotenuse would be 2. So now that I have the opposite side x and the hypotenuse 2, I need to find the adjacent side. So how would I find the adjacent side? The Pythagorean theorem. X squared plus b squared is equal to 2 squared. I rearrange and solve for b, and then I get that b is equal to 4 minus x squared. So then I input this value for the adjacent side. Now, we have to go back to our problem where we found negative cotangent theta. So this is what we found, and we went into x. And we know that cotangent is what? Adjacent over opposite. So we have our sides adjacent or opposite. We just plug them in to here, and we solve. And this will give us our final answer is going to be negative square root of 4 minus x squared divided by 4x plus c. And that is how you would solve a problem as such. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, and please like, comment, and subscribe to my videos.